Threes, fours, and twos, threes, and fours are the most image numbers, conscious numbers on the Enneagram, and so they each project. And honestly, in the life of a younger three, for example, there would be this sense that I cannot be loved for who I am, but only for what I do and for what I achieve, and therefore I have to project an image to the world of success and confidence and charisma and certainty, and we can do this. And there's this ability to swap out the mask to meet the expectations of whoever it is that three happens to be with at the moment, or in standing in front of at the moment. And that's kind of a superpower and can be used to good if it's used in service to God's agenda for the world versus toward the satisfaction of one's own ego, right? Now, that can cause a lot of loneliness and also a sense of questions of identity, like who am I if I'm not the mask I'm wearing to the crowd? Did you ever go through a period of time where you had to work some of that stuff out?
Yeah, I continue to have to work it out. My next birthday, I'll need 70 candles. So what I'm about to confess to you is indeed a confession, because I found myself just 3 or 4 days ago. I realized I had not been invited to speak at a particular event that a colleague of mine is in charge of. And so a mature Max would say, okay, it's his deal. I love him. Immature Max, the kicked in. And again, I'm a bit embarrassed to confess, I began thinking like a middle school version of myself. What did I do? Did I make him mad? You know what? I never really liked him anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably some, terrible event. And I just don't, my thought process got off on these false narratives that were proving to be an overreaction, and that could prove to take me to a place where I didn't need to go. I'm happy to report that I did kind of pull my act together. I did take some thoughts captive, and I did have a good prayer about it, and got myself, back on track. But I battle it. Probably would surprise you how often I have to work my thoughts back into the proper corral.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I'm 63, and I told a group of younger people the other day, I said, I don't mean to give you bad news here, but I just want you to know that many of the things that haunted me as a 14-year-old at 63 still haunt me. And I also want you to know that whatever you think the timeline is of spiritual maturity, you need to probably quadruple it. Because in fact, my mantra lately is, when people say, how long am I going to be? I always go, it's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute.
It's going to take a minute, because that's just the nature of the spiritual life, man. It is. Isn't it more like, it's not so much that we overcome things. I like how you said, I took those thoughts captive. You have an inner observer that has the capacity to monitor and regulate what it is that you're acting, thinking, and feeling in any given moment. That's called self-awareness. It doesn't mean the problems go away. It just means I regard them differently now at 70 than I did at 25.
And it means that maybe spiritual maturity means we have learned some tools. Maybe I need to call my sponsor, if I'm dealing with an addiction, instead of just going off the edge. Or maybe I quote certain Bible verses that mean a lot to me. Or maybe I turn on worship music and allow myself to enjoy God's presence. Maybe I do have some good self-talk. One thing that has proven very helpful for me is journaling. And I can go back and read several months of journal entries and say, oh, yeah, God got me through that just last July. I should be able to go through this, So you're absolutely right. I think the proclivity or tendency to face certain struggles that's going to dog us. It could be just a stronghold that the devil has. But what we do develop are coping mechanisms and tools. A 70-year-old Max has a lot more coping mechanisms than 14-year-old Max had.